Have you ever looked up at the sky and felt an undeniable pull? That boundless blue expanse, stretching infinitely, promising freedom, adventure, and the ultimate escape from the ordinary. For young Jamal Vance, that wasn't just a fleeting thought. It was the very air he breathed, the rhythm of his heart. From the moment he could articulate his desires, Jamal didn't dream of superheroes or pop stars. His heroes wore 4 stripes on their shoulders and commanded magnificent machines that defied gravity. His bedroom, a vibrant testament to his singular obsession, wasn't adorned with typical teen posters. Instead, every inch of wall space was meticulously covered with intricate blueprints of commercial aircraft, meticulously drawn flight paths, charting imaginary journeys, and hand-sketched cross-sections of jet engines detailing every turbine blade and fuel line. At just 10 years old, Jamal could identify nearly every commercial aircraft by the distinct roar of its engines alone. He wasn't just dreaming. He was studying, analyzing, absorbing every piece of knowledge that would one day take him airborne. This unwavering dedication wasn't lost on his mother, Simone Vance. A formidable and self-made businesswoman who had battled her own share of unseen cages to build her empire, Simone recognized the burning fire in her son's eyes. She nurtured it, fueled it, and believed in him with every fiber of her being. So when the prestigious Aviation Pioneers program at Transglobal Airlines announced its annual competition, a chance for promising young minds to get an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at airport operations and meet real pilots, Simone knew Jamal had to apply. The competition was fierce, drawing hundreds of applicants from across the region. But Jamal's passion shone through in his meticulously crafted essay, which wasn't just well-written, but resonated with a profound understanding of aviation's past, present, and future. He didn't just win. He excelled, securing one of the most coveted spots in the program. The day of his tour, a crisp Tuesday morning, was supposed to be the best day of Jamal's young life. He arrived at the sprawling Transglobal Airlines terminal, his heart pounding with anticipation, a special visitor's badge hanging proudly around his neck, a tangible symbol of his dreams taking flight. The tour had been everything Jamal had imagined, and more. He'd explored the labyrinthine baggage handling operations, marveled at the controlled chaos of the air traffic control tower, and even had the unparalleled thrill of sitting in the cockpit of a majestic Boeing 787 while it was being serviced. Every question he asked wasn't just surface-level curiosity. They were incisive technical inquiries that impressed even seasoned engineers. Around noon, his tour guide, a kind woman from HR, received an urgent call. "Jamal, I'm so sorry, but there's a small issue I need to handle. It should only take about 20 minutes. She explained, her eyes apologetic. "You can wait right here in the executive lounge. There's a fantastic documentary about the evolution of commercial aviation playing on the TV. I'll be back as soon as I can." Jamal eagerly nodded, settling into a plush armchair in a quiet corner. The documentary was captivating, detailing the engineering marvels that allowed modern aircraft to safely transport millions. He was so engrossed charting the progress of humanity's conquest of the skies that he didn't notice the room gradually emptying as pilots departed for their flights. That's when Captain Evelyn Hayes walked in. A senior pilot with decades of experience, Captain Hayes was a fixture at Transglobal, known for her stern demeanor and uncompromising adherence to protocol. She took one look at Jamal, a young black teenager sitting alone in the exclusive executive lounge, and immediately, irrevocably assumed the worst. Her perfectly pressed uniform and authoritative stance were designed to intimidate, and on a 10-year-old, the effect was immediate. Without a word, she marched across the room, snatched the remote control, and switched off the TV mid-sentence, just as the documentary narrator was explaining how jet engines revolutionized commercial flight. The screen went black, reflecting Jamal's startled, confused expression. "How did you get in here?" Hayes demanded, her voice sharp enough to cut through steel. "This area is for authorized personnel only. You don't belong in this lounge." Jamal's voice trembled as he tried to explain himself. "Ma'am, Miss Reynolds brought me here. I'm part of the Aviation Pioneers program." He reached for his visitor badge, hoping its official credentials would provide clarity. "See, I have proper clearance. But Captain Hayes wasn't interested in explanations. Before Jamal could fully hold up his credentials, she snatched the badge from his neck, the plastic clip breaking with a sickening snap. The ID clattered into her palm. Jamal's mouth fell open. His dream day, the most anticipated day of his young life, was unraveling before his eyes, and he couldn't understand why. He was just watching TV, waiting for his guide exactly as instructed. Was that really a crime? The fear in Jamal's eyes was unmistakable. All he had done was watch TV while waiting. Was that really a crime? Hayes scrutinized the badge with suspicious eyes, turning it over and holding it up to the light as if expecting to find evidence of forgery. Her lips thinned into a hard line. "This has to be fake," she finally declared, her voice dripping with accusation. "Or stolen. There's no way they'd give this clearance level to someone like you. Where'd you get this? Who are you really here with?" The emphasis on someone like you hung in the air, heavy with implication. Jamal felt each word like a physical blow. His voice cracked as he tried again to explain. I wrote an essay about my dream to become a pilot. I won the shadow program competition. There were hundreds of applicants. You can call Miss Reynolds, she's from HR, please. I'm just waiting here like she told me to." But Captain Hayes wasn't listening. She was already tapping her radio again, this time with more urgency. "Security, I need immediate assistance in the executive lounge. I have an unauthorized individual with what appears to be fraudulent credentials. Possible security breach. I need officers here now." Her voice carried through the lounge and into the hallway beyond. Heads turned, conversations stopped. Other pilots and airport staff began to gather at the entrance, drawn by the commotion. Some looked concerned, others curious, but none stepped forward to help Jamal. A crowd was forming now. Jamal's eyes darted around, frantically searching for a friendly face for Miss Reynolds, for anyone who might vouch for him. But all he saw were suspicious stares and whispered conversations. His cheeks burned with humiliation as he realized that to everyone watching, he was the criminal, the intruder, the threat. His heart pounded so loudly in his chest that he was sure everyone could hear it. Sweat beaded on his forehead as panic set in. Was watching TV in a waiting area somehow criminal? Was this really happening because he had dared to dream of becoming a pilot? Because he looked different from Captain Hayes? A horrible thought struck him. What if they arrested him? What would that mean for his future? For his college applications? For his dream of flying? "I just want to call my mom." Jamal managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper now. "Please, I didn't do anything wrong." And as Captain Hayes continued to lecture the growing audience, holding up Jamal's broken badge like evidence, little did she know that the very security she had summoned wasn't the only force about to descend upon that lounge. The unseen cage built of prejudice and assumptions was about to meet a force it could never contain. The storm was just beginning. The line went dead, but the terror in Jamal's voice echoed in Simone Vance's ears. "Mom, they're calling security. She took my badge. She said I don't belong here." His frantic words, chopped short by a sudden crackle, painted a chilling picture. Simone, in the middle of a crucial board meeting, felt a cold knot form in her stomach. 1,000 possibilities flashed through her mind, each worse than the last. Jamal was a good kid, disciplined and respectful. For him to sound so utterly terrified, something profoundly wrong was happening. Her maternal instincts, honed by years of navigating hostile corporate environments, kicked in. She stood abruptly, cutting off the presenting executive mid-sentence. "Excuse me," she stated, her voice calm but with an undeniable edge. "This meeting is adjourned, effective immediately." There was no room for debate. Simone knew with a certainty that transcended logic that her son was in trouble. And when her son was in trouble, nothing else mattered. Within minutes, Simone was in her car, the executive driver pushing the speed limit. Her mind raced, not just with worry, but with a steely resolve. She made a series of rapid-fire calls. First to her head of security, then to her legal team, giving crisp, precise instructions. Find out exactly what's happening at TransGlobal's executive lounge. Get me a full report and be ready to move. The sheer speed and efficiency with which she operated hinted at a level of power far beyond what anyone might assume. As the car sped towards the airport, Simone, usually impeccably composed, felt a slow burn of righteous fury ignite within her. She was not just a mother. She was a force. She had worked her way up from nothing, breaking barriers and shattering glass ceilings in industries that were never designed for someone like her. She knew the sting of unfair judgment, the subtle cuts of prejudice, and the crushing weight of being dismissed. And she had sworn that her son would never experience that pain. Not on her watch. The lounge was a tableau of awkward silence when Simone Vance walked in. Jamal, huddled in a plush chair, looked small and defeated, his eyes red-rimmed. Captain Evelyn Hayes stood over him, still radiating an air of self-righteous authority, gesturing dramatically to a security guard who had just arrived. "There he is," Hayes declared, pointing at Jamal. Attempted to trespass forged credentials. A clear security threat. Her voice was loud, designed to project authority and draw attention. But then she paused, noticing the new arrival. Simone Vance. Captain Hayes's eyes narrowed. "And who might you be?" she demanded, her tone shifting to an annoyed dismissiveness. Simone didn't answer immediately. Her gaze was fixed on Jamal, a silent message of reassurance passing between them. Then slowly, deliberately, she turned her attention to Captain Hayes. "I am Simone Vance," she stated, her voice calm, yet it seemed to fill the entire lounge, silencing the murmurs of the onlookers. "And you, Captain Hayes, are addressing my son." The air crackled. Captain Hayes scoffed a dismissive wave of her hand. "Your son, this child, is attempting to infiltrate a restricted area. It's a serious matter, Mrs." Simone cut her off, her voice gaining a steely edge. "It's Ms. Vance, and it is a serious matter, Captain. One that I believe you are handling very poorly." Hayes bristled. "I am simply upholding the integrity of this airline's security protocols. This boy, Simone interjected, stepping closer, her eyes blazing with a quiet intensity that belied her calm demeanor, "is a guest of this airline invited through a program I personally approved. He was waiting exactly where he was told. And you," her voice dropped, becoming a low, dangerous growl, "you chose to publicly humiliate and falsely accuse him based on absolutely nothing but your own misguided assumptions." Captain Hayes's face hardened. "My assumptions are based on years of experience, Ms. Vance. We have protocols. And this boy doesn't fit the profile for someone who belongs in an executive lounge." The subtext hung heavy in the air, unspoken, but understood by everyone present. He doesn't fit the profile because he's black. A chilling silence descended upon the lounge. Simone took a deep, measured breath, a subtle smile playing on her lips, but it was a smile devoid of warmth. "Captain Hayes," she began, her voice now dangerously soft, "I assure you I am intimately familiar with Transglobal's protocols, more so perhaps than you realize." She paused, letting the words hang, watching Captain Hayes's smug expression begin to falter, a flicker of confusion crossing her face. "You see," Simone continued, her eyes locking onto Hayes's, "Transglobal Airlines is an entity that I recently acquired. And as the CEO of Vance Holdings, the company that now holds the controlling interest in this very airline, I find your adherence to protocols rather selective." The effect was instantaneous, utterly devastating. Captain Hayes's face a moment ago, so full of righteous indignation, went utterly slack. Her jaw dropped, her eyes widened in horrified realization. The color drained from her cheeks, leaving her looking ashen. A gasp rippled through the gathered onlookers. The security guard, who had been standing rigidly by, visibly tensed his eyes, darting between the two women. The air, already thick with tension, became electrified with shock. Captain Hayes, so accustomed to wielding her authority unchallenged, found herself suddenly devastatingly outranked, outmatched. The unauthorized individual she had so carelessly targeted was the son of the woman who held her entire career in her hands. The storm had truly broken, and Captain Evelyn Hayes found herself caught in its terrifying eye. The unseen cage built on prejudice had not just been exposed. It was about to be dismantled brick by agonizing brick, by the very power it had sought to oppress. The silence in the executive lounge, stretched thick and heavy, punctuated only by Captain Hayes's ragged breathing. Her face a moment ago, so haughty, was now a mask of utter disbelief then dawning dread. Simone Vance didn't raise her voice, didn't need to. Her authority was absolute. Captain Hayes. Simone's voice was firm. Every word, a hammer blow of consequence. Your actions today are a gross violation of company policy, a blatant display of discrimination, and an egregious abuse of power. You have jeopardized the safety and well-being of a minor and severely damaged the reputation of Transglobal Airlines. Effective immediately, you are suspended without pay, pending a full internal investigation that I assure you will be thorough and swift, Hayes spluttered. But Ms. Vance, my record, my years of service, this is outrageous. Simone simply raised a hand, cutting off further protest. Your record will be examined. Your years of service do not grant you immunity from accountability. As for outrageous, her eyes flickered to Jamal, then back to Hayes. I believe the only outrage here today was your treatment of an innocent child. The security guard, now looking utterly bewildered, quickly escorted a pale, trembling Captain Hayes out of the lounge, leaving behind a stunned silence and an air of palpable relief. Justice swift and uncompromising had been served. But for Simone, this wasn't just about punishment. It was about preventing future harm. This wasn't just about one incident. It was about dismantling the very structures that allowed such incidents to occur. She looked at Jamal, who was slowly, tentatively beginning to let go of the fear that had gripped him. "Are you all right, son?" she asked, her voice softer now, infused with deep concern. Jamal nodded, still a little shaky, but a faint light of awe returning to his eyes as he looked at his mother. Simone then addressed the remaining onlookers, her voice clear and resonant. "What happened here today will not be tolerated. This incident is a symptom of a deeper issue, and it will be addressed. Transglobal Airlines is committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, not just in words, but in action." For Simone Vance, this commitment wasn't a corporate buzzword. It was the very fabric of her being, woven from a lifetime of relentless struggle. She often recounted her own journey, a story that many never heard hidden beneath the polished veneer of her executive success. Born into humble beginnings in a small town where opportunities for a young black girl were virtually non-existent, Simone had always looked up at the sky, much like Jamal. But her dreams weren't of flying planes. They were of building something, creating pathways where none existed. "When I started my career," she once shared at a university keynote speech, "I didn't walk into a corner office. I started literally at the bottom. My first job at an airport wasn't as a pilot or even a manager. I was loading baggage. I saw the back end of the operation, the sweat, the grit, the incredible coordination it took to get a plane in the air. And I loved it. But every step up, every rung on the ladder was a fight." She remembered a particular incident during her early days when she was an aspiring operations manager. She had proposed a revolutionary new logistics system that would save millions. Her male, predominantly white colleagues had dismissed it out of hand. "Too complicated, not practical. It's just not how we do things here." It wasn't until a seasoned, nearing retirement pilot, an old woman named Captain Lena May, who had herself faced decades of sexism in the cockpit, anonymously championed Simone's idea within the company's upper echelons, that it was finally implemented. "Lena May taught me that sometimes the most revolutionary ideas need an unexpected ally." Simone would say, her eyes reflecting gratitude. "She also taught me that the biggest barriers aren't always external. Sometimes it's the internal doubts, the fear of not belonging that can clip your wings." Simone didn't just climb the corporate ladder. She redesigned it, built new rungs, and eventually, through sheer brilliance, tireless work, and strategic financial maneuvering, she didn't just manage an airline. She bought the majority stake in the conglomerate that owned it. Transglobal was her latest acquisition, a company she intended to transform from the ground up. And so Simone's vision for Transglobal Airlines was clear: an airline where merit, not prejudice, dictated success, and where the sky truly was accessible to all. She immediately launched the Wings of Opportunity initiative. It wasn't just a mentorship program for young aspiring pilots from underrepresented communities like Jamal. It included mandatory intensive diversity and inclusion training for every single employee, from the ground crew to senior management. They hired leading experts to conduct workshops focusing on unconscious bias, cultural competency, and conflict resolution. "We're not just flying planes," Simone declared in an internal memo. "We're cultivating a culture of respect, innovation, and boundless potential. Our diversity isn't just a number on a report. It's our greatest strength. It's the unique perspectives, the varied experiences, the rich tapestry of backgrounds that make us stronger, more agile, and ultimately more successful." Transglobal also established partnerships with inner-city schools and community centers, sponsoring aviation clubs, offering scholarships, and creating immersive internship experiences to demystify the industry and inspire a new generation of diverse talent. This was Simone Vance's legacy, not just as a CEO, but as a pioneer herself, forging a path through fire so that others like her son could reach for the stars without fear. The changes at Transglobal were not just symbolic. They were systemic, deeply embedded into the very fabric of the company's operations. And as these changes began to take root, a new face emerged within the airline, a beacon of this transformed culture, ready to guide the next generation of dreamers. For Jamal, the immediate aftermath of that terrifying day in the lounge was a mix of relief and lingering unease. The fear, though, now overshadowed by his mother's protective embrace and the swift, decisive action taken, wasn't something that simply vanished. Sometimes even weeks later, when he saw a pilot with a stern expression or overheard a quick, hushed conversation, a flicker of that old anxiety would return, a phantom echo of Captain Hayes's accusing voice. But Simone was there always. She didn't dismiss his feelings. Instead, she acknowledged them, helping him process the injustice. "That fear, Jamal," she'd say, holding his hand, "it wasn't your fault. It was hers. And it's a reminder of why we have to keep fighting, not just for ourselves, but for everyone." And fight she did. Jamal witnessed firsthand his mother's relentless dedication to transforming Transglobal. He saw her poring over reports, meeting with community leaders, and personally overseeing the implementation of the Wings of Opportunity program. It was during one of the program's initial open house events at the Transglobal Aviation Academy that Jamal met Captain Isabella "Izzy" Garcia. Unlike the stern, unapproachable image of Captain Hayes, Izzy was vibrant with a contagious enthusiasm for flight that mirrored Jamal's own. She was a young rising star at Transglobal, one of the first pilots to join the airline after Simone's acquisition, drawn by the new vision. "So, you're the famous Jamal," Izzy said, with a warm smile, extending her hand. Jamal, a little shy but intrigued, shook it. "I've heard about your passion for aviation. Tell me, what's your favorite part about flying?" Their conversation flowed effortlessly. Izzy didn't just answer his questions. She challenged him, asked him about his theories, and shared her own experiences, both triumphs and failures, with refreshing honesty. She spoke of the complex physics of lift, the beauty of navigating through storm clouds, and the immense responsibility of carrying hundreds of lives safely across continents. She told him stories of pilots who looked like them, who had broken barriers before, often in much tougher times. She made the vast, intimidating world of commercial aviation feel welcoming and attainable. Izzy became more than a mentor. She became a tangible representation of Simone's dream, a living testament to what a truly inclusive environment could foster. Jamal would spend hours with her in flight simulators, learning to handle virtual emergencies, or just listening to her recount her latest flight across the Atlantic. He saw himself in her, a young, determined mind pushing the boundaries of what was possible. The Wings of Opportunity initiative, spearheaded by Simone, wasn't just a corporate PR stunt. It became a genuine force for change within the industry. Transglobal started attracting an incredibly diverse pool of talent, from aspiring pilots to engineers, air traffic controllers, and flight attendants. They didn't just recruit, they invested. Scholarships were funded, pre-flight school academies were established in underserved communities, and experienced pilots from diverse backgrounds were brought in as paid mentors, ensuring that new recruits had the support systems they needed to succeed. Other major airlines, initially skeptical, began to take notice. The industry, often slow to adapt, started to feel the subtle tremors of a shift. Conferences that once debated the best ways to cut fuel costs now included panels on unconscious bias and the benefits of diverse leadership. TransGlobal's example began to create a ripple effect, forcing competitors to reevaluate their own hiring practices and internal cultures. Some started their own diversity initiatives, others quietly reached out to Simone's team for advice. What had begun as a single painful incident of prejudice had blossomed into a catalyst for widespread transformation. It proved that one person's unjust act, when met with courage and strategic vision, could spark a movement far greater than itself. It wasn't just about giving Jamal a chance to fly. It was about ensuring that the sky, once seen as the exclusive domain, was truly open to everyone, regardless of their background. The seeds of change, sown in the discomfort of a public confrontation, were now taking root and growing into a vibrant forest of opportunity. The focus had shifted from merely reacting to prejudice to proactively building a future where it had no place. And as Captain Izzy Garcia continued to guide young dreamers like Jamal, the true legacy of Simone Vance's fire was beginning to unfold, charting a new course for the entire aviation industry. A decade, 10 years had soared by since that fateful, frightening day in the TransGlobal Executive Lounge. The fear that had once clouded young Jamal Vance's eyes had long since been replaced by an unshakable confidence, a calm assurance that comes from mastering one's craft and conquering one's fears. Today, the once timid boy who was unjustly accused stood tall, not as a terrified visitor, but as a seasoned professional. The crisp uniform of a TransGlobal Airlines captain fit him perfectly, adorned with 4 gleaming stripes on each shoulder. Captain Jamal Vance. The name resonated with pride, a testament to his unwavering dedication and the powerful legacy that had propelled him forward. He sat in the left seat of the cockpit, the commander's chair. The intricate array of dials, screens, and switches, an extension of his own brilliant mind. Below him, the sprawling metropolis of Toronto glittered with a million tiny lights, slowly shrinking as the powerful engines of the next-generation Horizon Dreamer aircraft roared to life. This wasn't just any plane. The Horizon Dreamer was TransGlobal's flagship model, a testament to the innovation and forward-thinking spirit that Simone Vance had instilled in the company. Its sleek design and advanced technology were a direct result of the diverse, brilliant minds now flocking to TransGlobal, a living symbol of a culture built on inclusion. Beside him in the co-pilot seat sat a bright-eyed young woman, First Officer Anya Sharma, her own excitement palpable. She was a recent graduate of the Wings of Opportunity program, and Jamal was her mentor, just as Izzy Garcia had been for him. He remembered his first flight with Izzy, the nervous energy, the thrill of finally taking control. Now, he was the one guiding the next generation. "Ready for pushback, Anya?" Jamal's voice was calm, authoritative, yet warm. Anya nodded, a confident smile on her face. As they taxied towards the runway, Jamal glanced out the cockpit window, looking up at the vast, darkening sky. It was boundless, limitless, just as he had always dreamed. The memory of Captain Hayes, of her cruel words and baseless accusations, felt distant now, a faint echo from a different lifetime. He had not let that moment define him. Instead, it had fueled him, propelled him to prove her and every other naysayer wrong. As the plane accelerated down the runway, the roar of the engines filling the cabin, Jamal felt a surge of exhilaration. This wasn't just a job. It was his purpose. His mother Simone had not just bought an airline, she had bought him and countless others a future. She had dismantled the unseen cages, not just for Jamal, but for an entire industry. And that was the profound, enduring legacy of Simone Vance. Her voice, strong and resonant, often echoed in Jamal's mind, a constant reminder of the lessons learned and the battles won. Fear should never be the price of following your dreams. Simone had often told him, her words becoming both a mantra and a promise for Transglobal. The anxiety I felt, the terror you experienced in that lounge, that's not an inevitable cost of being a pioneer. It's a failure of the system, and it's a failure we can fix. She had gazed out at a Transglobal plane taking off its lights, visible against the darkening sky, climbing steadily upward. That's why the new diversity initiatives aren't just about recruitment numbers or public relations, she continued. It's about changing the culture from the inside out. It's about making sure that the next generation of dreamers doesn't have to be afraid. And on the wall of Transglobal's main corporate office, a large framed poster now hangs prominently. It features Captain Izzy Garcia standing confidently in her uniform, surrounded by a diverse group of young people from the Wings of Opportunity program. A subtle nod to the past and a powerful vision for the future. Across the bottom in bold, inspiring letters are the words that have become both slogan and promise for Transglobal, and indeed for a burgeoning movement within the aviation industry. Fear should never be the price of following your dreams. These words, forged in the crucible of injustice and refined by unwavering determination, had come to represent more than just a corporate initiative. They had become a rallying cry for an industry in transformation, a reminder that the sky, vast and boundless, truly does have room for everyone. And as Captain Jamal Vance lifted the Horizon Dreamer into the night ascending towards the stars, he knew with absolute certainty that his journey was just beginning. It was a journey of endless possibility, a testament to resilience, and a beacon for all who dared to dream beyond the limits of an unseen cage. Jamal's journey and his mother Simone's unwavering fight is a powerful reminder to all of us, especially in our community, that the paths we walk are often paved by those who came before us and shaped by the courage we choose in the face of adversity. The unseen cages of prejudice may still exist, but they are no match for fierce love, unyielding determination, and a collective commitment to build a world where everyone, regardless of their skin color or background, has the undeniable right to reach for their own stars. This isn't just a feel-good story. It's a blueprint for action, a call to continue the legacy of those who dared to dream beyond the limits. It's proof that when we stand firm against injustice, when we nurture talent, and when we champion true inclusion, we don't just change lives, we change the world. If Jamal and Simone's story resonated with you, if it sparked a flicker of hope, or fueled your own desire to break through limits, then join our community. Click that subscribe button right now. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story that reminds you of your strength and potential. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, a friend, a family member, anyone who's ever felt underestimated or told they don't belong. Let's spread this message of resilience, justice, and limitless dreams. Because when we share these stories, we empower each other to keep fighting, to keep rising, and to keep proving that the sky truly has room for us all. Thank you for listening. We'll see you in the next video.